This right here is William Jacobson, Cornell Law Professor over there at Legal Insurrection. This was one of your headlines, sir. Cornell graduate student workers vote to join anti-Israel National Union. Now, it's not just Cornell where you work. What we're seeing on college campuses with the anti-Semitism, with the support for Hamas, while I think it has stunned many people, for those of us who have been observers, we knew it was there. Maybe we didn't realize the depth and the breadth of it. Talk to me about what's going on at your Cornell University and what union have these people joined?
Yeah, well, the graduate students went through a process and voted to join the United Electrical Workers Union. There's several other terms in there. And it didn't get a lot of attention. And Israel wasn't a central issue, as far as I know, in that decision. But the fact of the matter is they did end up joining a union. Now they've got to negotiate with the university, but they just passed the vote to, collectively bargain with a union that has endorsed the boycott of Israel. And so that raises a number of concerns about whether those policies will now work their way onto campus, whether the graduate students on their own will try to implement them. And so that's a concern. That's a concern that I've called attention to, because I remember back in 2015 when the United Electrical Workers made that declaration of support for the boycott. It was a big deal, and it was actually litigated, and it went to the National Labor Relations Board. And so I don't know if the students were aware of that. It's hard to believe they weren't aware of that, because in 2017 they tried to affiliate with the American Federation of Teachers and were unsuccessful. They lost that vote. So I think it's just very curious. And however we got there, I think the issue is, where does it go from here?
Now, the where does it go from here involves where does it come from? I've been making an argument, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, that when we see what we're seeing on college campuses, it's clear that there are professors, there are administrations that are absolutely aligned, either you can argue with Hamas or with the idea that Israel's existence is the problem. Maybe that's the way they would say it in a nicer tone. And we could discuss college campuses where administrators have stayed silent. They have failed to show a level of moral clarity. And this has happened in a series of colleges, Ivy League and others. But this hatred or this Pavlovian response didn't start in college. My argument is it started in high school and before that, but I don't necessarily believe it started writ large with parents. Am I off base or am I onto something?
Well, I think this intense demonization, I would call it dehumanization of Israel, of Israeli Jews, did start on college campuses and has worked its way down. I don't think this is a parental movement. I think this is a faculty movement. There are thousands of faculty around the country who have signed on to the boycott of Israel. They're extremely aggressive. They may not be the majority, but they are the very vocal minority. And they tend to dominate certain subject areas that student activists gravitate towards too. Needless to say, it's not physics and chemistry. It's, political science. It is the humanities, those sort of soft subjects where faculty view themselves, and they say this, activism is an important part of their teaching. So that's what you get. You get 20 years of demonization of Israel. You get 20 years of a boycott movement. You get 20 years of students on campuses only hearing one side of the story, and you toss in the racialization of the conflict under the rubric of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and white oppressor and non-white oppressed, and people of color versus the whites. That all gets mixed in, and you see that at Cornell. Multiple times they've brought these resolutions, and they organize students of color against Israel. So it's a very toxic, and that has now spread out because you've had 15 years of students being indoctrinated this way on college campuses. And now it's in K through 12, and now it's elsewhere in society.
And all of the oppressed oppressor goes back to proletariat and bourgeoisie and Marxism. And when Barack Obama talked about the 99% and the 1%, it is all part of the same conversation, no?
Yeah, it is. It's a hatred of the United States. I mean, which is manifesting itself as hatred of Israel. It's the old Iranian mullah formulation: great Satan, United States; little Satan, Israel. These student activists are almost uniformly hate the United States, think we are uniquely evil in the world, think the only thing that ever happened in this country was slavery, and that somehow slavery was unique to us and unique to the Western world, when it wasn't. It's happened throughout the globe, in many cases, for lengthier periods of time than happened here. So they are giving a distorted view, but it is a hatred of capitalism. It's a hatred of America, which is manifesting itself as hatred of Israel and anti-Semitism.
William Jacobson, a Cornell Law Professor, the mind behind legalinsurrection.com. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Check out legalinsurrection.com. Check out the foundation, the work that the man is doing over there regarding critical race theory, things being taught in schools and college campuses across the country. Legalinsurrection.com.